The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayors and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Welcome, everybody, again to this week's version of the Mayors and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you updates from the mayors and supervisors in the communities that we cover. We will start off this week with Jerry in Rush, the supervisor of Rush. Jerry, how are we doing in Rush?
Rush is, as you have heard me state before, Chris, one of the best kept secrets in Western New York. And we have a partial menu of things to talk about today, one of which is the reassessment that we just went through. And that didn't make a lot of people very happy, but I'm hoping that people will come in, make an appointment with our assessor, talk to the assessor. If they can't get an appointment there, I'd be willing to talk to anyone who wants to come forth with a complaint. I thought at our town board meeting Wednesday night that we would have standing room only, but no one came in, no one wanted to talk about it. There was no one on Zoom. So I don't know what's going on, but I know that we'll get through it. We'll also get through the brush collection, which will start next Monday, and that is a town-wide brush collection. Along with that is news that we've been paying a processor to come to our brush site and grind up all of the brush for use as mulch. This year, I don't know what's going on, but they have decided to pay us for the brush that they grind up. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. You had put in your questions about what's new. One of them was, how are we finding out about this cannabis law that just got signed by the governor? The only way that I'm finding out about it is through emails, and I'm not finding out a lot because apparently there's not a lot known. It's going to be close to a year before we know any level of detail. I did hear that the opt-out that is part of the legislation, once you opt out, I don't know if this is true, but I heard it, once you opt out, you can never opt back in, which I don't think is right, but I'm not the governor, so we'll see where that takes us. And I'll close by letting everyone know that we did have a proclamation celebrating the 15 days of spring from April 15th to April 30th. And the event was not a lot of attendees, but a very interested group of attendees. And we had some good discussion, and we're all looking forward to spring so that we can participate in making our town a showplace. That's it, Chris.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Yeah, we had spring a couple of weeks ago, don't you remember? Now we're back to winter.
I'm trying.
Rick, Village of Honeoye Falls, what's cooking there?
Oh, good afternoon, Chris, and everyone. It's great to see you all. You know, there certainly has been a lot of information and changing information and sometimes lack of information regarding the cannabis marijuana legislation. We're hearing most of our information through the New York State Conference of Mayors and the Association of Towns. Our legislative members have also sent some information out. I did partake in a webinar this past week. It's sometimes as clear as mud. and they are changing, or there does seem to be some new information coming out as we move forward. But to Jerry's point, it's been a little confusing about whether you can, opt out and then opt back in and vice versa. As I understand it, we're all going to need to make that decision for our local communities, and we're investigating that. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be reaching out to my here on this call to see what their communities are thinking about. Supervisor Moffitt and I have had some conversations, but we're planning on reaching out to our residents and our business owners. I've reached out to the school district superintendent just to get their input. We have some time on this. It's nothing that, it's not a decision we have to make today. So we're going to take our time. We're going to try to gather as much information as we can. And as we learn more about what other communities are doing, we have to do what's right for our own community, whatever that may be. So we're going to try to, put some good thought into this. To opt out, that's again a community choice, right? But to opt out, then you're going to lose any potential for tax revenue on the product. And at the same time, if it's something you're very much against, on a personal standpoint, or for your community, or if your community's against allowing it in your community, then is the money really important? I mean, you have to do, again, it has to be a conscious decision for your community, I think. So we're taking it a step at a time. We're going to try to make an educated decision, and we're going to try to make sure that we make the right decision. If we decide to opt, as I understand it, if we decide to opt out or opt in, that is going to be potentially up to a public referendum where residents can put together a petition, and they will have 60 days or so once we make a decision to put together a petition to force some sort of a referendum. At the end of the day, if we opt out, the way I understand it, over a period of time, if we decide that we want to opt in, we will be able to do that, and vice versa. Now, again, we're all learning about this, so we'll gather as much information as we can, and hopefully there'll be some real clear information on that. Another thing you asked about, Chris, was at HFL's local football game this past week. There's been some complaints about the noise. I will tell you that every year during the school football season, especially, I think more so than lacrosse and soccer, but I get complaints every single year. And the school district has generally been very good. If I contact them and just say, hey, we had some complaints this week, there's an awful big speaker system up there. And sometimes the announcers just get a little bit excited. They get that music cranking a little bit louder than they normally do. And we get some complaints, and we contact the school district and the athletic department and just remind them of that. And they usually are very good about trying to tone it down a little bit. So my guess is, Chris, there hasn't been a lot of games played this year. The last few months have been a little bit quiet. And people probably just heard it on a clear night a little bit more so than normal. So we'll talk with the school about it, though, for sure. And I'm sure they'll be very open to that. Our village meetings, as I mentioned last week, we are indeed going back to open meetings, still with a virtual aspect, though. So our village hall boardroom is very small. There will not be a lot of seats open for people to sit in. So once those seats get filled, if they indeed do get filled, people still will have the option to join us via Zoom. So we'll be both virtual and live. We're going to do the best we can and try to make it as clear as we can to people, but we're growing with this process continually. I do want to just continue to suggest to people that they do their best to get vaccinated. I know it's a personal choice, but I have been fully vaccinated, I'm happy to say. And I did not, everybody's different, right? So I did not have any real adverse effects to the vaccinations, but I think we just owe it all to each other, in my opinion, to get vaccinated if you can. That's, again, my personal opinion. Village of Honeoye Falls is being named a Tree City USA designation. We're excited about that. We've gone through that process, and I want to just offer kudos to our conservation board and their chairperson, Andy Less, and then village administrator, Brian Anderson, for their efforts to get that done. And we do continue to see some real nice upticks in business. We're looking forward. There's not official, announcements yet, but I think we're going to see some things for the bowling alley reopening and also the brewery restaurant. So some real big things coming with that in the very near future. So we're excited about that. Our office is open for business. We're still asking that people wear masks and try to socially distance as best they can. And then lastly, as I've said a couple of times, our summer concert series is just about totally booked up. And that's going to move forward with every Tuesday beginning June 8th. And then lastly, we are indeed having our Memorial Day parades in Honeoye Falls, and I believe the hamlet of Mendon. We're working with the Honeoye Falls Post 664, but we are going to have our parades on Memorial Day as we have in the past. So we're looking forward to starting that again. And with that, I'll pass it off to the next supervisor or mayor in line. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Rick. That's very good news about Memorial Day. Mike, the town of Lima. What's that blue thing you got there?
Hello,
Is that
everybody.
the other half of your shirt?
What a difference a week makes. If you indeed did sign up for the VA's pop-up clinic on April 17th, you know that it was canceled because the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was canceled. The VA will get in touch with you to reschedule. Pam King has purchased the Jack Quinn's building, which was the old Jack and Jill's. It's going to become Easton's Food and Drink. And Pam is inside cleaning up and getting things spruced up and all of that, but will be reopening the bar and the restaurant and is hoping for a sort of May, June, July-ish kind of launch. We'll see. Some of it's going to be dependent on when the liquor license comes in. Francis M. Dalton Post 282 will be organizing the Memorial Day Parade and events for Lima once again this year. Letters are going out to the groups that normally participate. And if you don't receive your letter in a timely fashion, then please get a hold of me here at the town hall, and I'll be able to make sure that you're included in the parade. Of course, all of the protocols in force at the time of the parade will be observed. The German Festival has been officially canceled for June 13th. Mark your calendars for the second Sunday in June of 2022. The American Rescue Plan funding, of course, it's hitting the counties on May 10th. Towns and villages should be receiving money passed through New York State by June 9th. We still, at the last meeting that I was at, are not sure on what the village formula is. And I have a feeling that may affect the town formulas. So we really don't know what's going on until that all gets solidified. As part of the New York State budget, the Dwyer funds were announced for veterans programs county by county across New York State. These funds are used for suicide prevention programs. Once again, Livingston County did not receive any funds. Senator Galvan's office is trying to secure funding through a different means, but in the meantime, the Livingston County Board of Supervisors, along with private donations, are funding the Outdoor RX program to help reduce the incidence of veteran suicide. Of course, why is that? That's because Livingston County has the highest per capita rate of veteran suicide in New York State. If you or your group would like to help, contact Livingston County Veteran Services at 585-243-7960. Lastly, our town cleanup days are set for May 21st and 22nd, and this does include the electronics collection. You must register here at the town hall and receive a permit from the clerk in order to participate. You can call 582-1130 for the details. That's all I've got, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Eileen, Scottsville, how are we doing there? Unmute yourself.
I did. We're doing well, thank you. Our board meeting was held this past Tuesday. There was a public hearing for the 2021-2022 village budget. There was no public comment or board comments, and went on to pass the budget 5-0. Our tax rate is 4.9206 per thousand. And the budget still can be viewed online, or you can get a copy by contacting the village office. To reiterate some of the things that Rick was talking about, I attended the mayor's meeting for the Monroe County Association of Villages on Thursday. And one of the main topics was the cannabis legislation recently passed by the state legislature. I also attended the webinar on this topic that morning. And this legislation addresses, and I'm just going to probably repeat some of the same things Rick has said, but just want to make sure everybody in Scottsville is kind of listening to this. The legislation addresses retail dispensaries and on-site consumption establishments. And municipalities will receive 3% of the sales tax revenue of these operations. Now, there's kind of an automatic opt-in. We are already kind of opted in, but we can opt out if we pass a local law by December 31st of this year. There is the opportunity at a later time to opt back in if you so choose. My understanding, and I won't write this in stone, is that once you opt back in, you can't keep opting in and out. So it's a one-time opt out and then a one-time opt back in. The mayor's, last night we were just, on Thursday, we were discussing the impact of the new legislation, and the village board in Scottsville will also be discussing that before making any decisions. And we welcome resident feedback on this issue. Send us an email. I'm sure we will have an information meeting for the residents of the village before we make any decisions on this. I know there will be feelings both pro and con on this issue, and we want to make sure that everybody is heard before we make any decisions. I think one of the things I'm most concerned about is in terms of public spaces. And as we have open container laws for alcohol, do we need to have other sorts of law associated with that for public spaces? So I think there's going to be a lot of discussion going on about this, and it's a good thing we have some time to work these things out. We also discussed the American Rescue Act of 2021, which will provide funds to local governments as part of the coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds. We are looking into the impact on the village and also how we may use these funds. They've sent out some guidelines. They've given you some ideas, but I think it's going to take some talking with our departments as what they see as needs. How have they been affected by this coronavirus? One of the things that I thought was a positive was investment in infrastructure. And I thought that was a positive. point and something that would really benefit, I know, at least Scottsville and some of the things that we need to do. So we'll be looking into that. I know anybody who is part of NICOM, they have the American Rescue Act on NICOM, and also some resources, some links that you can get to find out how much your county's getting, how much your town is getting, and then you kind of have to figure out how much your village is getting, because it will be a percentage of that, of what the town is getting. So there are some resources if you go on NICOM to my co-workers here. We have made some revisions in our pavilion rental application. Because of COVID, the pavilion will be available for rental this season, but we needed to raise the fee in order to cover the added COVID cleaning guidelines. So there'll be a small increase for that. I received a letter from the DOT regarding our intersection of Rochester Street, River Road, and Main Street, where it forms a triangle. We are concerned about that area. We have an occasional accident, but I think a lot of times it's just people not yielding correctly. The state is not going to do anything to reconfigure the road, but they said they will be coming in to do some line changes and hopefully make it more clear that people coming south on Rochester Street need to make sure they yield before crossing over to River Road. So we will look forward to that, and I'm interested to see how this will work out. Other things, our Arbor Day ceremony again is a small one on May 1st. Grove Street Triangle, where Grove Street and Rochester Street intersect. And I will be reading the Arbor Day proclamation at that time. As for the Legion and the Farmers Market this summer, the Legion will not be holding their Memorial Day parade. They will hold a small flag raising ceremony for Legion members at this time. And the Farmers Market has been canceled for the summer. And let's see, we got the DOT. And finally, the DPW will be working on Main Street this year, putting up the flags, the banners for Hometown Heroes. And they will be soon putting the box planters out on Main Street and filling them, hopefully, with beautiful flowers for everybody's enjoyment this spring and summer. So that's it for us in Scottsville.
All right. Great news, Eileen, as usual. Anybody else have anything they might want to add that they forgot?
Yeah, Chris, if I may, I did just forget, and Eileen reminded me of it, on April 24th at Harry Allen Park, I believe it's from noon to 3 at this point in time. Our Conservation Board is also planning their Arbor Day celebration or their spring gathering. So they'll have a couple of presentations. We'll be handing out some saplings that they do every year, et cetera, and that's open to the general public. So we look forward to that at Harry Allen Park next Saturday, noon to 3, I believe is the time.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Nothing else from anybody else? Seeing none, I declare this meeting closed. It's not a meeting, folks. Don't call it a meeting. It's an update from the mayors and supervisors every Sunday at 1 o'clock on our YouTube page and Facebook page. If you're on either one, make sure you like them or follow them or whatever it is you do with those things, and you will be automatically reminded when the show starts. So, again, this is Chris Carosa saying bye-bye for now.
Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.